I am your host, Doc Rodden, and this is Horror News Radio, the official Gruesome Magazine podcast. Back with me again this week are the scariest, goriest, bloodiest co-host on the net. And tonight we're reviewing Run, streaming now on Hulu. But let me introduce there he is. He's running. All right, first up is the one and only Dreher. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Hey, was Chris trying to run away? Did I see Chris trying to run away?
He was.
You're stuck. You're stuck, buddy.
Yeah, I was running away from that Carson impersonation.
Yes.
It's become a tradition now, Christopher. Don't you know that?
Hey-o.
Hey-o.
Hey-o. Hey now.
Waka my way. All right. Also with us is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore.
And he's froze.
I'm trapped in my COVID house.
Oh, he's miming. Oh no.
Miming, yeah. I'm miming a way to get out of this box. I can't get out of this box.
Baby Yoda has a Christmas hat on. It's official. It's officially season now.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Exactly. Merry Christmas.
Humbug. I hate you both. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to give our first impressions on the movie Run, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit. We're going to probably dive into spoilers on this one just because it's streaming, and if you're not watching it, what the hell? And then we're going to give our final thoughts, our score, and favorite scene at the end. You want to stick around for that. All right, what film are we talking about? What's this? Run? It's streaming on Hulu November 20th. The synopsis is: a homeschooled teenager begins to suspect her mother is keeping a dark secret from her. It's directed by Aneesh Chaganty. You know, I said it right during the pre-show.
Yeah, you did. You didn't even flinch when you said it the first time.
I know, and then I'm stuttering all over it. And it's written by Aneesh Chaganty and Sev. Oh my God! All right, the cast includes Sarah Paulson, Kiera Allen, Holly, and the one and only Pat Healy. Tagline is "You can't escape a mother's love." Yeah, okay. Aneesh is also behind the film Searching, which Dave, I think you and I both really loved that movie.
Yeah, we did. That was a great movie. Now that we're talking about it again, I'm gonna have to watch it again. I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah. There's actually a small connection with that movie and this movie. We'll get into that in spoilers. All right, let's do our first impressions. And you know what? We're gonna go in the order that we are on screen. So that means Christopher G. Moore, you're up first.
I'm surprised this wasn't on Lifetime instead of Hulu.
Big time.
This feels like a Lifetime version of the Gypsy Rose story that was made into that movie, The Act. Except with more drama. It's basically Misery with Gypsy Rose's life. Yep. Right.
Yep.
It's interesting. I think if anything, the backbone of the story is the girl, the young girl, the actresses in this. That's because when you have a situation to where you're incapacitated and having to use a wheelchair to get around and that kind of stuff, and having to deal and finding out certain issues where things are not what they seem, and it definitely has that Lifetime movie aspect of it. This doesn't even feel like a movie that would come out in theaters. This feels like a cable movie. Not to really put it down, but it just feels like that. There's not really a lot of glitz and glamour to it. It's pretty bare bones in its approach. I think if not for the acting by the young girl and I think Sarah Paulson's basically, she does what she does. I don't think this is one of her best performances, but
oh really?
She does what she does, okay. and I think there's been so many other actresses that have done better versions of this type of character. But yeah, I think there's several scenes that I got like stressed out watching when she's having to sort of like figure out situations. I love that her character's like almost like an engineer of sorts, and so there's one thing where she uses certain scientific principles to do something, and I love that. And I think for me the big, it gets kind of twisted towards the end, and there's a big, I'm not going to give away the spoiler of it, but there is something that happens towards the end that saved the movie for me.
Oh, nice.
Because I was not expecting that. Because the where it goes, I'm like, why is this happening? And I was like, oh my God, that's twisted and awesome. So yeah, I mean, it's an okay movie. It's enjoyable in parts, I think, primarily because of the young girl and the situation she's in and how she's having to figure out ways to get out of the situation. So, but overall, it was okay. It's not horrible, but it's not great.
Not horrible, but not great. Oh my. Yeah, we should say that Kiera Allen plays the lead actress in this, the young girl.
Yes.
It is her first leading role, and I think she does really well for herself for this.
Oh yeah, yeah, because I think she seems like a normal teen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, she has to go through so many different levels of when it comes to the physicality of playing this character, to the emotion that comes along with it. 1 minute, she's giggling and stuff and laughing. The next minute, there are a lot of fearful situations. There's parts where she has to be strong, even though you can see the anxiety on her face and in her eyes. And when she has to sort of like use her mental capacity to get situations to go her way or to deal with certain situations. It kind of reminds me a little bit. I don't know if you guys ever see Wolf of Wall Street, where the main character, when he has that drug, he takes those drugs and he's incapacitated and he's having to drag himself to his car. There's that kind of thing of these situations to where, like, most of us, if we had the ability to use our legs, we would try to get out of situations. But with her, she has, she's having to deal with not being able to use her legs. So she's having to use even more strength and mental strength as well to get past certain things. And I think that makes it different than a lot of other films where you have situations where people are trapped and have to find a way out of it.
Right. So real quick, before we get to Dave, we should probably catch people up that our lead character, who is Chloe, the young daughter, is in a wheelchair and her, cannot use her legs, and homeschooled from her mom, Sarah Paulson. And yeah, she just becomes suspicious of what's going on, and it just goes kind of bonkers from there. But let's find out what Dave thought. Dave, what is your first impression of Run?
Much like Christopher's, he is 1,000% right. This is Mother May I Sleep with Danger crushed with misery.
Wow. There is, if I may interrupt, there is a misery connection.
Yeah, well, and I don't know if you guys noticed it or not. I know we don't usually. Well, this really isn't a spoiler, but they in the one scene where she's trying to make the phone call, her mom's out watering the garden, and the operator mentions Derry, Maine. I don't know if you guys noticed that or not.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
wait till you find out what her name is. We'll get there.
Yeah, so they, there's a couple tie-ins to the Stephen King universe there, but I can't say I didn't enjoy this. I mean, this thing telegraphs itself from the get-go until I know exactly the point you're talking about, Christopher. The whoa, that's fucking warped moment. But up until that point, you can pretty much see what's coming, every step of the way. But it's good. I think the acting definitely saves it. The only thing I disagree with you a little bit, Chris, is I think Sarah Paulson nailed it on this. She's rock solid in this. I really enjoyed her performance, but by far the daughter, the girl that plays the daughter, was fantastic. But yeah, I kind of had a lot of fun with this. It was it seemed to be a quick watch. I had another point and I completely lost what it was going to be now. It'll come back to me though. That's just old age happening right there, right in front of your very eyes.
Oh my gosh, there it is.
But yeah, no. First impression was this was a fun, enjoyable watch. It's not horror by stretch of the imagination.
Wait a minute, really?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Psychological horror, maybe. Don't come into this one looking for any special effects. I'll leave it that way.
Yeah. I mean, it is a psychological horror. Yeah, I think that's probably where it would sit. It's definitely more on the thriller side, but I think the whole nature of the story and the secret, if you will, turn it into a horror film of sorts.
Yeah, I mean, it is. That's one thing. Great thing about our genre is it's very wide open into its interpretation of what it is.
Yeah, I thought it was going into a horror situation because there's a part where she's showering, and it looks like she has like a pentagram scar on her back, and I was like, oh my god, is this going to be some kind of like satanic cult type thing? And it doesn't even go there.
But they again, nothing's ever comes from that. We don't get any backstory why that's there. Nothing. It's just we see it. I thought the same thing. I'm like, is that a pentagram? And then nothing. I thought maybe she's going to become a witch or something. Or who knows?
No, man, wouldn't that have been awesome? All right. There's a lot of red herrings in this, and that's, I guess, one of them, or at least one. Maybe they're not quite as red in the red herrings as they think. If you take what Christopher was saying, because. I really enjoyed this movie. This movie, I've been having a rough time lately with movies. If Dave could probably speak to this on the Gruesome Magazine show, it's like, oh, what the hell? You guys are liking this movie? I don't. And here it is. You guys are kind of lukewarm on this. And I kind of really dug it. I was expecting to just kind of turn it on and relax and not really get into it and get some stuff done while I watched it. A terrible thing to admit, but I didn't. I was like, next thing I know, I'm just sitting there eating potato chips and I'm watching the whole damn thing, and it totally sucked me in. It totally engaged me. I was right there with the daughter. I was like, because it plays early on with what's what, right? Is this all delusional, or is it real? And of course, the answer going in, you just kind of, it's not but it plays with you for a little bit like that. And then of course it throws some red herrings out there, and it has some interesting little nods, like you were saying with Stephen King and some other things. But I thought, I think it really comes down to the performances. And I thought everybody was good. Pat Healy plays the postman, and the scene between him and Sarah Paulson is so good. It's so good. Just the way he's like, it's tense, right? Because you could see the Sarah Paulson character, on her toes, trying to get around this situation, and he's not. And but he's playing it really cool. I just really like Pat Healy, and I thought he was really good in this. And I thought Sarah Paulson was good, but I think Kiera Allen is really the surprise here, because she's kind of stuck in her body language because of the situation her character's in. So most of it's in her face. Most of the performance in her face are her hands. And there's a scene where she kind of figures some stuff out about her history in school and whatnot. And it's those things where the forehead crunching tells it all, right? And it was great. There's a lot I really enjoyed about this movie. It's I'm kind of saying it's probably going to get an honorable mention at the very least. For me, I really like it. I thought it actually, the tension and the suspense in here, I thought was, it's not on the level of Hitchcock, but it's Hitchcockian in its ambitions, at least. I really liked it. I thought the director did a great job. There's a scene where she's crawling to escape, and in a situation that you would never think somebody like this would do, and it was gripping and tense. And then I was like, what the hell is she doing? And then she does something that Christopher was alluding to, and it's like, well, crap.
The whole time I don't, without giving anything away, I was like, there's something she does. I'm like, I don't understand this. And maybe it's because I'm not science oriented, or I don't really know what she's doing, but then I appreciate it because I think what makes this different is it's not just some normal teen who doesn't really know anything, like other than like, because she doesn't even have a phone or anything. So for her to do that and have such a scientific mind to where she's trying to figure a way out of it, there's a few times where she uses like her scientific mindset to figure something out or to do something. And I love that aspect of it, because that's smarter than I think most of the kids today would think about. So that intelligence, having her, because when her limitations are physical, but she uses her mental things just to get past that, I think that's what makes it stronger to me.
Yeah,
you know,
yep.
her as a character. There was a few times where I wish she would have said more, but then the more I thought about it, is she has a lot of anxiety issues. She already has problems with asthma, so I think there's that shock sometimes will stop you from saying things in certain situations.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought she did a great job, and I thought that she's intelligent, resourceful, and you don't always get that in your final girl, if you will. Sometimes it's it's and I thought that worked out great, and I thought she did a great job with it. Dave, the fact that we mentioned that there's no gore, you're right, there isn't any really gore. I mean, there's
blood.
There's blood. There's implications of gore, but did that bother you at all watching this?
No, it didn't. It just made me, again, I wouldn't label this a horror film per se, but again, that's neither here nor there. I did like some of the choices that the director made. Like, I thought the whole opening sequence was actually really well done. I mean, it pulled in real quick, that whole thing with the baby, and then I just enjoyed that. I thought the way
fake silicone baby.
Yeah, well, not so much how the baby looked. I mean, I'm talking more about the way he shot it, and you kind of left you wondering what was really going on. And the reveals. I guess the reveals were well orchestrated and timed. So I like that. Yeah, the baby itself did not look that great, but
they could have done without even showing the baby. I think
and even at the end, and again, I know we don't want to talk too much, but the makeup of a character at the end, she's laying in bed.
What?
It was like it was done by. It was like a teenage Halloween trick or treat makeup.
Wow.
That was kind of rough. I enjoyed the twist that we get, but every time they showed the makeup, I was like,
it didn't bother me, but it did. Okay, I see what you're saying, but I didn't notice it when I was watching it. I was really wrapped up in what was happening.
I will say, I know you guys like Sarah Paulson, but I really thought she was calling it in this. I think
really,
I think she can perform stuff in her sleep. To me, it felt like she was playing a character as opposed to embodying a character, and I almost got pulled out of the movie every time that she would do certain things because I didn't really believe her character as much. I almost feel like they should have cast a different actress in that role, but that's just me.
She's definitely channeling Annie Wilkes. I mean, that's what this was supposed to be, and I don't know that she pulled that off that well. So now you got me second guessing mine.
I know. I thought she was great. I thought the scenes between, I mentioned with Pat Healy, and then later in the basement, the way she would reel herself back in as a character, right? I don't know. I was enjoying it. Let's be fair. It doesn't demand a whole lot from her.
It doesn't. I think she's elevated by the. I'm sure it's different a lot of times because she usually is the powerhouse in certain scenes when you see things like American Horror Story and stuff. But I think she's actually her character is spotlighted by the young girl, the young actress. I think if it wasn't for her being the backbone of the spine of this movie, I think that would make her acting seem worse, I think. And I think her having to act to that, I think sells it more. But I think to me, the strength of this film is that young actress and not Sarah Paulson.
Yes. I would give you that. Yeah. I mean, if you want to see a really strong recent performance from Sarah Paulson, watch Ratchet. She is amazing in that.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't think she was bad in this either. I mean, I enjoyed her performance in this. I really did. But I might have been a little overly zealous before, and I said that she was rock solid.
Well, I'm not saying her part is horrible. I'm just saying that it was okay. It's not. I think any other actress could have done as well. I don't think her being in that part really elevated that part at all. I think it's just any part that any actress in Hollywood could have played the same way and not really elevated, like in Misery or any of these other films that have those type of characters. But that's just me. I mean, it's very it's sort of like any of those 90s films, like The Hand That Rocked the Cradle or Sleeping with the Enemy, those type of things where you have like a family member or somebody you're involved with who's, you know, acting, you know, psychotic.
Yeah, yeah. Well, she's definitely going for, you know, the misery character. So much so that one of the other characters is named for is if you pay attention, is a direct nod to that. If you notice, the pharmacist lady, the counter lady, her name was Kathy, and her last name was Bates.
I missed that. I didn't catch it.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, but I didn't get the dairy thing, so that one totally went.
Well, I did hear the dairy thing, and I didn't put two and two together until Dave mentioned that.
I just thought it was odd because they were supposedly in Washington State. So
I know. So
why would they even say that? That's what caught my attention, because I heard Maine, and I'm like, why would they use that as an example of how to make a 411 call?
Although, if you're trying to connect your film with a classic in that sort of psychological thriller genre, it's not really anything you want to compare your film to.
Well, here's something else that's really cool. Because Dave, you like Searching, right? Did you ever see Searching, Christopher?
No, I never.
You need to check that out. It's really good.
It's actually a good movie.
John Cho is the star of it, and he makes an appearance in this film. Did you guys catch it?
I did not.
Oh, was he the guy on the phone?
No, that was the director.
That was the director. Oh, okay.
That was the director. He was on the poster for Breakout, the movie they go see.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
I did notice it. What was the other film that was playing?
Fake news.
Yeah, fake news. I'm like, oh, hey, look, it's a Trump.
No, it's not. I was reading that the fake news is actually a nod to a show that they're doing. The producer is also producing, and they wanted to just kind of throw it in there as a nod. I didn't realize what it would become.
I will say, I thought it was a little pretentious to have the little definitions of different medical ailments at the very beginning for me, but
I didn't even. Well, like I admitted at the beginning, I was kind of like thinking I was going to watch this movie under some a certain pretense, and then it ended up like. and I didn't really catch that part. So, but you thought it was pretentious?
Yeah, I think anytime sometimes people do that where they'll put a quote or something or whatever. Mm-hmm. I just get straight into it. You don't have to give definitions of what different medical ailments about. You spell that out with the character. We already sort of know that anyhow when she's all the specific medical issues she's dealing with. I think to me it's like it's trying to make this more important or interesting than what it could be. And I think
you don't think it gave it context or anything? You think it's
no, I think if anything, we could have found that context within the film and not have to have definitions. I just want to get straight into it. I mean, it's like I felt like it was like a minute of maybe it's because I work with medical records, so it's like
you might
that. I mean, you could spell that out in the script, or you already know that she has all these different problems and stuff. I mean, even later we find out, the medication involving like arrhythmia and that kind of stuff. So I don't know. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way to where it was like, oh, somebody's trying to be all hoity-toity in the very beginning before we even see, a shot yet. So I don't know. I didn't really like that. But I don't know.
I'll tell you what I did like is that this movie doesn't really play around with the storyline. It's pretty straightforward. It doesn't go into like a lot of flashbacks, and it doesn't have a lot of exposition. It just kind of sets us, we get this little intro, right? And the text maybe that you're talking about. And then boom, we're in the story, and it just propels forward. And we're figuring things out along with the daughter. And I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the lack of complexity. It didn't overthink itself.
Mm-hmm. Although I
don't think it dumbed down though.
Although I will say, when we have that big reveal about the situation
in the basement,
I didn't understand the logic of how she was able to get away with that. You know what I mean? I think that I didn't really understand. And
why save evidence, right?
Yeah, why save evidence? But it's like, how would you get away when it comes to Social Security number and all these different things? How you could get away with that to where a person could be going to school and even apply to college? If there was really no explanation how she was able to get away with that if she has documents that sort of like
Proof otherwise?
Yeah, proof otherwise without giving anything away. I
think you may have, but that's fine.
Yeah. Oh, well, sorry.
I don't think it's a big surprise though when you get there, but it is for our character, and that makes it work.
But then the logic of how she was able to get away with that didn't really make sense.
I noticed they tried because there is a fake Social Security card in there, but I want to address that. And Dave, I want your opinion on this and see if you agree with me or not. Is that the twist is, like we said, seen a mile away, but I think what makes it work is, again, we're going back to our young actress who, when you're in the moment, you still feel the twist. Did you feel it as well?
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right. She sells the whole thing. We at least I seen it coming all along, but her reaction to when she realizes it is where the heart of the story is. And absolutely. I think you got the nail on the head there, Doc.
Although I think the twist on the twist, I did not see coming.
No.
Yeah, without getting away, that I was like, whoa, because I was like, I was almost to the point. It's like, oh, this movie, why, and then like, okay, all right, I like that. So I think that made up for it, even if you sort of saw the other twist coming a mile away.
Yeah, because that what you're speaking of which we cannot mention here.
Can we say? Are you talking about the stinger twist?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes. That is. Stick to landing. That's what you got to do. And I think it did with that. All right.
For sure.
I think. I think we just got to the very end of the movie, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. What is it? What is it that Admiral Akbar said on the?
It's a trap.
No,
it's a wrap.
It's a wrap. You missed the cue.
Sorry. I didn't know if you meant the regular one or the Christmas holiday one.
Christmas one. All right. So what we do now is we give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. But before we do, if you've listened this long, first off, I want to thank you for hanging out with us. Two, hit the subscribe hit the subscribe button. Easy for me to say down below. It'll help other people find us. There's a like button too. Hit the bell if you want to be reminded about other upcoming things as they get released. And of course, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Are you more on the Lifetime movie, or are you saying maybe Hitchcock? No, it's not that good.
Oh no,
it's not that
How
good.
dare you?
It's not that good.
How dare you?
Not that good.
Lord.
But regardless, if you think so, I want to hear. All right, let's do it. Let's do our final thoughts, our score, and favorite scene. And we're going to do it a little different this time. Dave, you're up first.
Okay. Throwing a boomerang at me here.
Twist on a twist.
Yes. Oh my God. I can't say I didn't enjoy this movie, because I did. I enjoyed the watch quite a bit. The fact of the matter is, it's on Hulu. You already subscribed, so just watch it. What the hell? It's there. You already paid for it. It's not shredding. It's not breaking. It's not breaking any new ground. But our young female lead is quite good. I'm still going to stick with Sarah Paulson doing a fine job. I enjoyed her in this role, and watch it all the way to the very, 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 very end. You have to, or you will be very disappointed if you don't. I'm going to give it a slightly above average. I'm going to go with a 3. And my favorite scene is it just caught my eye. I don't know why, but it's and I don't think this is spoilery. When she's trying to use the computer to look up medication.
Yes.
And she realizes that the router has been disconnected, and she just kind of sits back in her chair. And when she sits back in her chair, we see the silhouette of Mom sitting in the kitchen watching her. I thought that was just it was creepy and just really well done. So I really liked that shot.
Yes, that might have been the creepiest shot in the whole movie.
Yeah. So that was good.
I really like that. All right, Christopher G. Moore, what is your final thoughts and your score and your favorites?
Let me point out first, this movie and Hitchcock should never be in the same sentence. There's nothing.
Can you say Hitchcockian? in what it's aspiring to be?
It's Lifetimian is what it is.
Lifetimian.
It's not Hitchcockian. It's Lifetimian. So if you like Lifetime movies, this is right up your alley. It's a no-brainer when it comes to its simplistic approach. And yeah, I still enjoyed it despite having issues with some things. But I think the strength of it is the Kiera Allen, the young actress in this. I'd like to see her in other things because I think there's even that time lapse without getting anything away. There's a time lapse where you get to see her older or whatever, and she looks older. So I'm like, whoa, that's she kind of pulled that off. So. So yeah, I think it has some interesting elements. I mean, I think the situations where she has to find her way out of and having to escape certain things, when she's got to deal with her disability, I think are just, take your anxiety medication before you watch those scenes, because it can get very, very stressful and anxious when you watch those, and especially the one where she's trying to escape her room to not give anything away. I think, and how she uses her sort of smarts and ingenuity to get out of things, I think makes her a better character than a lot of characters that are in trap situations. Even better than some films we watched recently, like The Spell. But yeah, it's okay. It's not horrible. It's not great. I will say it's probably one of my least favorite Sarah Paulson's performances, because I think that she could act in her sleep, but I'd rather her embody a role instead of sleepwalking through a role. And again, she could sleepwalk through a role and still get accolades and people will still like it. But I think any actress could have played that role and done just as well. So it doesn't really stand out. And I think she's only elevated by the young actresses in the film. So yeah, it's an okay film. If I were to get a rating, I would say I'll give it a middle of the road 2.5.
Okay.
I don't hate it. I don't love it. And I think the twist on the twist, I think, is definitely a highlight of the film. As for favorite scene, I will say that how the escaping the room scene.
Yes.
I think because for me, there's confusion. It's like, why is she doing this? I don't understand why she's doing this. And when you find out why she's doing it, it's like, oh my God, that's really smart. If you figure out the science around things, if it wasn't that, I'd probably give the twist on the twist is my favorite scene. But I'll say
I'm surprised you didn't.
yeah. I almost did that, but I think if I were to do a normal scene that really was really well crafted and mapped out, and how it starts and how it ends, I really love that scene a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that scene's great because, you feel our characters in danger. Sometimes when they're in those positions, you don't necessarily feel that. But I think this movie really projected that, that danger. And, like there's a couple times when the feet are dangling off the edge. There's...
Oh, well, the camera, I mean, I'll just say she's on a second level of a house. And the camera's moving, and it's like the whole time I'm thinking, how did they film that? Is it on the set? Does she have wires? I don't. So the whole time I'm like, I'm concerned for the actress,
right.
But because I'm concerned for the character, and I think that it shows you the power of that, how they shot that to make it seem so precarious.
Yep, I agree with that. All right, so I had a little bit better. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. This movie, this is an emotional response, I'll admit, because it really engaged me. I really got into the story. I felt the suspense. How is this character going to get out of it? How is she going to figure things out? How is she going? How is this going to work out? And obviously, the situation, wouldn't have gotten this far if somebody wasn't up to the task of not keeping it that way, right? So. I think you nailed it with that scene, Christopher, is that, you felt the girl was in danger. and you felt her situation, and that really helps this movie a lot too. Of course, again, that's why we're always talking about her performance, because without her performance, we wouldn't have felt that way, right? And it's very strong, and I think everybody else is too. I would agree this isn't my favorite, Sarah Paulson performance, but I certainly don't disparage it either. And I'm not saying you do, Christopher. I'm just saying that I thought it actually was pretty good. There's a couple scenes where I was really into it. Matter of fact, one of them is going to be my favorite scene. And it took a twist toward the end, not a twist, but a turn, just by changing the location toward the end. And I felt that was handled really well. And the ending was, it wasn't overly cinematic in that respect of what they did, but at the same time, it felt satisfying, right? Because, in a film that, this was going to have a theatrical release, it was supposed to be released on Mother's Day, which is, I think, fully intentional, right? This was going to come out on Mother's Day.
That is the worst Mother's Day movie.
No, it literally was going to come out Mother's Day. And of course, it got bumped back, and it's 2020, so it ended up on Hulu. It's like Dave said, you already paid for it. Go watch it. I love that. Yes, you've already paid for it. Oh my Lord. I'm giving it a 3.75. I really liked it. It really, really resonated with me. I'm just gonna shut up and say that's what it was.
That's it. It is what it is.
Yeah. My favorite scene, and I talked about this earlier, is the whole scene with the mailman. Our lead character Chloe is trying to escape, and stops the mailman, who they know each other. We know they know each other, even though they don't really have an interaction. But through the film and interactions through a window, we know they know who each other are. So I really liked his reaction and his take on it. And then when they confront each other, they being the mailman played by Pat Healy and Sarah Paulson, I really liked that scene. I liked how I don't know, it was really tense, and if it was kind of like, you don't realize it, guy, but you just got a dog backed into a corner. That thing's going to bite you. You better be careful.
Well, but at the same time, he was also one of those situations where I think people would turn a blind eye, because he even catches her in a lie with the phone. Yeah.
And he, and she tries to bluff him out, and he stands his ground. So there was a lot going on under the dialogue that I just really kind of dug that scene and how it played out. And well, I'm not going to say any more about the scene because it might be a little spoiler, but so you're rooting, right? You're like, oh man, got to fool her, you got to get away with this, right? How are they going to get away? So I like that scene.
Yeah, and I think the without giving anything away, I want to talk more about what's in the movie, but I think also there's an interesting scene where the young girl is even further capacitated at one point.
Yes.
It makes it even more stressful, because how is she going to get out of this? So I think they really, when it comes to, when you have those movies that plays into your vulnerability, like when you have like Hush, where you deal with somebody who's deaf, or you have still somebody who can't see, or that kind of stuff, that when it comes to dealing with dangerous situations, you're so anxious because like, oh God, what are they going to do? How are they going to get out of this if they can't physically fight back or do this or that? So I think that's the strength of this film, the anxiety around the situation the young girl has to go through.
Yeah,
and because she can't fight back.
Right. In that particular scene, it's not even her previous situation isn't even really a thing anymore. It's she's a different type of incapacitated in a different way.
Yeah, and
she's really.
You really have to look into her face and her eyes to see how she's reacting, and and for me, it's like, I think when you can feel for the person, it's like, oh God, if that's all I could do, how would you how would you let someone know a situation's dangerous, you know, if they can't understand, if you can't talk?
Yeah, she did. And she did. And I thought the interaction with her and the nurse in that scene, to give a little bit away, was really strong too.
Yeah.
I thought, you know, you know, sometimes a movie will kind of, you know, cause tension by ignoring the pleas.
Yeah.
But in here, they, you know, it was the struggle of, you know, even though I'm listening, still can't be heard kind of thing. And really like that. Yeah. So there's a lot going on in this movie at times. Maybe, I still think it would have played well in the theater, but I think you guys are saying it's definitely a TV movie, huh?
This is a Lifetime movie, and not to put it down. I mean, there's a lot of fun Lifetime movies, and I think if you have Hulu, check it out because it's definitely worth the watch. Just don't expect Hitchcock.
No, but you can see the inspiration. All right. No, I don't expect.
It's Misery Light.
Yeah, it's aiming more for that. I'm going to shut up. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Christopher, Dave, thank you for joining me to talk about Run.
That's always fun.
All right, let's say goodnight.
Good night.
There he goes.